Things that I'm going to discuss in this stream are service of the bike before the trip, spare parts, comfort, navigation, luggage, safety, motorcycle security, planning the route, and backup plans. These are the things that I'm going to discuss, and for each one of these I will give you just a few directions that is good to follow. And of course, as I said, when I finish, please, if you have something to add, do it so. It will be very valuable for everyone who is going to watch the stream after that. I've got a little problem with my throat. I'm coughing from 2 days, like all the time. But it's getting better, but just to make sure that I have the right medicine, I've got this. It's a Latvian cognac. I brought it from Tallinn. It's like like syrup for throat. Big D, good evening. How are you? And tea. And the reason I did not mix it together, because this cognac got such a nice flavor. It's so nice to drink it, and if I put it on the tea, I will lose it. That's why this is better. Christoph, guten Abend. Wie geht es dir? Alles gut? Schon vergessen mein Deutsch. Muss Practice. Practice muss Practice. Diese deutsche Sprache ist sehr schwer. Ich bin gut auch. Ein bisschen krank, und ein bisschen hier coughing, aber it's alright. Guten Tag, guten Abend, Richard, guten Abend. Alright guys, 10 tips to prepare any motorcycle for long trips. I'm gonna start after a few minutes just to see if anyone else come. And then we're gonna start. As usual guys, I have 10 points to cover here, and after I cover the points I will give you enough time to, if you have any questions or if you want to add something else in the list, as usual. So eventually the future watchers of the stream will have some benefits from it. Anyway, actually I'm glad that I split the main channel to 3 different channels, because now I have the right audience for every channel. For the Motorcycle Adventures channel, which is usually the tips and everything, the main channel, exactly the people who subscribe for this type of videos. And then on the travel channel are the people who want to watch only travel videos. And then on the live streams are people who prefer to watch live streams. And now, instead of losing subscribers, I am getting even more, and it's better for everyone. So this decision was right, and I hope that it will serve even better to everyone who is going to watch it during the years. All right, let's start now. 10 tips to prepare any motorcycle for long trips. The things that I'm going to discuss in this stream are service of the bike before the trip, spare parts, comfort, navigation, luggage, safety, motorcycle security, planning the route, and backup plans. These are the things that I'm going to discuss, and for each one of these I will give you just a few directions that is good to follow. And of course, as I said, when I finish, please, if you have something to add, do it so. It will be very valuable for everyone who is going to watch the stream after that. So when you want to prepare the motorcycle for long trips, the very first thing that you have to do is to ask yourself a few questions. Where the trip is going to be. If you know where the trip it is or where the trip will be, you'll be able to prepare the motorcycle better. If you know, for example, that you're going to spend 50, 60%, 70% of the time only on the dirt roads, you will have a proper preparation for your bike for the exact type of roads. For example, you will have as less as possible luggage, you can have a proper tires, you can have a proper suspension, or anything that will help you to improve your performance, stability, and safety on the dirt roads. The second question that you have to ask yourself, how long and what terrains? So how long, it depends on everyone, because for some people 2 days is long, for others 2 months is not long. What terrain, I partly covered with the first question, where the trip will be. But again, more specific with terrain, that is mean that if you know that there will be some very hard sections on your trip, you have to prepare the motorcycle for the hardest part of the trip. So for example, I know that I've said this many times before, but it's important to say it once again for everyone who is going to watch it. So for example, if you have 10,000 kilometers trip, and you know that from these 10,000 kilometers you're going to have 1,000 kilometers very bad dirt roads, my advice will be to prepare the motorcycle for this 1,000 kilometers. Or if I can give you a fresh example from my trips, my last trip to Magadan, the most difficult part of the trip was the road from Yakutsk to Magadan, 2,000 kilometers. And the same from Magadan to Yakutsk, 2,000 kilometers. So my entire trip was 40,000 kilometers, 39,000, but I prepared the motorcycle for this 4,000 that I was expecting to be hard over there. And they were not easy, don't get me wrong, but they are not something so difficult, but I wanted to go there with as light as possible motorcycle and the best prepared for this type of terrain. Because I know the rest of the kilometers, these 35,000 kilometers on the roads, I can do it with any bike, with any preparation, with any luggage, with any tires. But the last 4,000 were critical. That's why it's very good to know where the trip will be, how long, and on what terrains. And the last question that you have to ask yourself, are you going to sleep in the tent or you will book hotels? So when you answer this question, it will be very easy for you to organize the whole trip. Again, I will give you an example from my last trip and the trip before that. Just because I knew that I'm not going to use the tent, I have only the tent with me, which is mean no sleeping bag, no mattress, no pillow, nothing. Just the tent in the case of emergency situation. But the year before that, 2022, when I was traveling around Europe, I knew that I'm going to need the tent very often. And actually I used the tent around 12, 13 or 14 times. So I brought everything with me. So if you know this in advance, you can prepare your motorcycle and your luggage much better, more efficient, I will say, and to save some weight or maybe some money, who knows. So when you know the answers of these questions, you will have a clear idea of what you really need. So it's so simple, and I cannot understand why some people just don't get it. If you know where you're going, if you have a good plan, you can prepare yourself and the motorcycle much better. Any motorcycle. So you can make an adventure motorcycle from any motorcycle. And many people prove it, like see Jack Lucasen went around the world to some very, very difficult terrains with Yamaha R1. Or some people travel with scooters, with anything. So if you know where you're going, if you know what to expect, you can prepare any bike. Another thing that is good to know, for example, on a long trip, more than 10,000 kilometers, you have to change the oil, the tires, and maybe to carry some spare parts. But it's again part of the first questions, because if you know where you're going, how long the trip is going to be, you can prepare your motorcycle much better. And if I have to combine all of this to one simple word or one simple advice, is going to be make a good plan in advance. And you'll see once again for the 1,000 times already that a good plan in advance is necessary, and it will help you a lot to prepare your trip, to prepare yourself, execute your trip without many problems or with a minimum problems if you just have it. On the other hand, if you go on the weekend trip, you can go with only your credit card and everything is going to be okay. But if you plan a really long trip, especially on foreign countries, a preparation will be the key to success. This will help you to prepare the bike and the luggage more efficiently and stop wasting time and money for things that you don't really need. So let me now give you the 10 tips that I have promised. So when you ask these questions that I just said, you will be able to polish the information and find the proper things that you need. So the tips are, the first tip that I'm going to tell you now is service the bike before the trip. I cannot stress enough how important this is. Everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip. I know that I've said this before, but it is so important that I would like to say it again for everyone who did not understand it so far. Everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip, one way or another. It is that simple, and still cannot get it why some riders miss it. They believe that their motorcycles, just because the motorcycle is new or is reliable, does not mean that it does not require any preparation. For example, now on my last trips, I was traveling with a new bike. Especially in 2022, my motorcycle was on 5,000 kilometers when I started. But it doesn't mean that I don't need to make any preparation or any service before I go. So that's important. For example, you can change the oil before the trip. You can change all of your brake pads. You can check all the liquids and everything just before the trip. So service the bike before the trip. This is the tip number one that I can give you. Even if you still have a couple of thousands of kilometers, it doesn't matter. For oils, bearings, brake pads, sparks, filters, chain and sprockets, change everything that is need to be changed or expecting to finish during the trip. Even if you have more 2,000 kilometers from the oil that you use at the moment, just change it before the trip. So you don't need to worry about oil after 2,000 kilometers. And it's the same apply for anything that I said. Bearings, brake pads, spark plugs, filters, anything. So if you make this a proper maintenance before the trip, it will eliminate 90% of the possible problems that you might have. Do it now so you don't need to worry about it later. It really depends on the destination, but in many places around the world you won't be able to find a proper garage. Not only proper garage, but also spare parts. Now, for example, on my trip to Russia, because of all of the sanctions that are applied to Russia, I basically was not able to find any spare parts, any. In a few places I found brake pads, but just because my brake pads are also suitable for many other brands. But if we need to wait import from Europe, it is not going to happen, so from Japan, because of the sanctions. That's why it's so much better to prepare everything in advance. You don't need to be surprised in the last moment that you don't have an oil filter or brake pads when you're in the middle of the road. And that's why I brought with me a lot of brake pads and everything that I need. Cheers, guys. So once again, by doing it, all of this, everything that I said before the trip, you'll actually eliminate 90% of the possible problems on the road. Number two is spare parts. You should know, or you should have at least a basic knowledge about your motorcycle. So this does not mean that you have to be mechanic or to have some kind of mechanical skills, but at least you should have some kind of basic knowledge about your motorcycle. For example, how many liters of oil you're gonna need, what kind of filter, what kind of brake pads, how to change your oil on the road, how to change your spark plugs, or just the basic maintenance. You should be able to do it by yourself. It doesn't mean to be a mechanic, as I said, but at least a basic knowledge. If you have this basic knowledge, you will know what kind of spare parts you can bring with you, or what kind of spare parts you might need. Because I have seen and met people in my life that have zero knowledge from anything. So they don't know what is oil, what is brake pads. They know how to drive car or ride motorcycle, but they don't have any idea about the specific parts of this engine or whatever. So basic knowledge, it's a must. It's something that you can learn very easy by just even reading your owner's manual. Learn it now so you don't need to do it later. Because if you have some kind of technical problem on the road, you have to learn it anyway, especially if you don't have anyone to help you. And in many places around the world, you might be completely alone or in remote area, and you have to rely only on your own skills and your own knowledge. That's why it's good to have at least the basics. Not anything, but basics. As I said, the manuals are usually a very good starting point, but you can always find more than enough information online for your specific model. There are so many videos on YouTube, so much information, so much PDF files, anything. You can download anything on your telephone and have it all the time for anything. Basically, you can make a overhaul on your engine just by watching videos, if necessary. I'm not saying that you will become professional, but you'll be able to do it. Also, I have seen riders carry way too many parts. Most of it, they will never need it. This is another one point. You don't need to carry so many parts that you might never need it. Again, it's all coming back to the same, to have a basic knowledge what you might need. Now, for example, I will never carry piston with me or piston rings because I know that it is very rare situation when I'm gonna need it, and even if I need it, I will need a proper service, garage and mechanic to do it, so I cannot do anything on the road. And what is the purpose to have a piston and piston rings with me? But I will always prefer to have an oil filter or brake pads or something that it's more likely to finish on the road and will need replacement, if you understand what I mean. If you spend just a couple of hours or days, you will know what are possible problems with your model and what are the must-have parts. Exactly what I just said. If you just spend a couple of hours to learn about or to read about your model or watch videos about your model, what are the eventual problems or stuff like that, you will learn so much and you will be prepared. And again, the preparation is the key to success. Number 3, comfort is everything. That's right, the comfort is everything. It is so important, not only for your ass, as you may think at the moment, but also for your safety. It might sound like strange, but it is not. If you feel comfortable, if you have a good comfortable riding position, it will allow you to ride with comfort, which is mean that your hands will be on the right position, your legs will be on the right position. You're not gonna get tired after 30 minutes riding or after 1 hour on the seat. And when you're not tired, of course, you'll be on focus, and it will improve the chances to get back home safe in one piece, if you understand what I mean. Guys, is everyone there? Can you hear me well? Can you listen well? I cannot say anything here. Internet connection is fine, but please type something. Is the audio video good? All good. All good. Good. And I stopped to drink something. So if you have a better comfort, you will feel more relaxed and you will ride in just much better conditions. The first thing for safety, for comfort, is to have a better seat. So understandings or better seat are always different for everyone. In my opinion, the most comfortable seat is going to be a little bit harder when you sit on it at the beginning, but you'll appreciate it later. If you have too soft seat and you feel very well on it right after you sit, it might not be the same after 1 hour, if you understand what I mean. But to know is your seat okay or not, you have to spend on it enough hours. So if you plan to travel many kilometers with this motorcycle, I will advise don't change the seat before you go. So the seat is the first thing that you need to think about it, even though, in my opinion, it's not the most important. The most important is to adjust the handlebar, the brake and clutch levers and pads and everything before you even decided to change the seat. The next one is going to be a proper handlebar. A proper handlebar, something better than you have on your motorcycle, because you might have a good size handlebar, but if you don't have, you have to use at least 28 millimeters handlebar, a proper connection with your forks and front wheel. You will not believe it, but the difference between 22 millimeters handlebar and 28 millimeters handlebar is only 6 millimeters in terms of size, but in terms of real connection with the feedback from the front wheel, it's that big. You will feel it like a completely different motorcycle. So a proper handlebar is a must, and it will help you a lot. Christoph, for my 7,000 kilometers of Balkan tours, I do oil change, new tires, new brake pads, or have them with me, everything with me, air pump, 2 tubes, heavy tools, church. Yes, correct. So it's all part of the preparation of the luggage, and you've done it well. I hope that all of this helped you to finish the trip successfully. Okay, we came to the proper handlebar, and then it's a good wind protection. Good wind protection, it's not exactly must, but it's something that will help you a lot, especially on the long trips. A good windshield protects not only from the wind, but it also protects from the rain and from the cold days. It will deflect most of the air outside of your body, and this will eliminate fatigue, or at least will minimize fatigue that you can get after so many on the saddle. And the next one, it's like a number one modification or item that I recommend to everyone. This is heated grips. Heated grips makes a big difference. When you feel comfortable on your motorcycle, when you feel warm and good, you can spend many more hours, and of course all of this will be directly connected with your safety. When you feel good, when you are warm, you'll feel safe. When you're riding in cold days, especially with cold hands, it's miserable. I've done it a few times, and man, it's not a pleasure at all. So you will really appreciate this modification that will cost you $100 to have a heated grips. And I can bet that you will use it every time when the temperature drops under 20 degrees. The next one is to have a wider foot pegs, especially if you plan to spend many hours or kilometers on the dirt roads. The wider foot pegs will be something that will help you to control the motorcycle much easier, especially when you stand on the pegs. And usually they are not that expensive, and quality models are expensive, but you can find some alternatives from AliExpress, for example, on very good price, and change the pegs that you have. As I said, this will help you to control the motorcycle, and again to minimize the fatigue from riding, especially on standing on the pegs. Because I've ridden with guys that when they stand on the pegs, after 5 minutes they cannot hold anymore. They just need to sit because the pegs are too sharp, or their boots or some kind of Skechers or trainers are too soft, and actually the the foot bent around the pegs, and it's very tiresome and painful. But when you have a wide foot pegs and good motorcycle boots with hard soles, I can actually spend hours standing on the pegs without being tired. So it's important to have. And the next one, as I said at the beginning, it's a proper adjustments of the levers, clutch and brake levers. Proper level is important, because if you ride on the seating position, they should be like this. But then when you stand on the pegs, it's a little bit different. So you have to find the right balance between standing and sitting on the seat. All of this will help you to ride your motorcycle in comfort for many hours without you need to stop. I need more medicine. No more. All right, then we go to number 4, navigation. It doesn't matter what option you will choose to use, a proper GPS or your telephone. Make sure that it is set properly, that is put on the right position. What I mean by right position, you don't need, or you don't want your GPS navigation unit, your telephone or whatever you have, to be on the handlebar. It should be on the level of your dashboard. Even the best position will be above your dashboard, but still on the level of your eyes, like this. So you can ride and monitoring it at the same time. So when you watch your GPS, you'll still have your parallel visual, or whatever the word was, everything around your GPS, you will still see it. But if your GPS is on the handlebar, every time when you need to look on it, you will go like that, you will tip your head, and then like this all the time. And first of all, after so many hours of riding, this is tiresome, and also it's very dangerous, because for this part of the second you can miss a car or something and have an accident. So it is very, very important to have the right position of the GPS. The best position will be on the top of your dashboard. Not on the mirror, left or right, not on the handlebar, on the top of your dashboard, where you'll be able to see it without moving your head. Next one, number 5, luggage. There are many different options, and pick the one that you need and you like. There is no wrong or right answer. What is better, saddlebags or hard panniers, duffel bag or whatever. Choose the one that is good for you. The main principle that you have to know is to keep the center of mass as low as possible. So it doesn't matter you're going to have a hard panniers or saddlebag or some kind of duffel bag. You always need to try to keep the center of mass or the center of gravity as low as possible. Usually they say that with the hard panniers, it is easy to have a low center of mass, because they are located on the lower position, but they are heavier from the beginning. So what exactly is the truth, I cannot really say. I know from my experience that a duffel bag, a heavy duffel bag on the top of the seat, is way more noticeable than hard panniers on the bottom. But again, it depends on that how heavy are the hard panniers. So in my situation, or my advice that I can give you, is to have a saddle box, not so heavy, or a horseshoe bag like the one I have, and it's, in my opinion, is the best bag that I ever had. As usual, I will recommend to travel as light as possible, but the final decision and all possible consequences after that will be only yours. The next one, number 6, is safety. You have to know that safety is just an illusion. But if you, or what, how I have to say, the first to choose are proper tires. The tires are the only connection or the only thing that keep your motorcycle straight on the road. So you don't have to save money from tires, because the tires is number one from the safety list that you can have. The heavier you are, the better tires you will need. And when I say the better tires, I'm not saying that you have to have expensive tires or better brand. No, you have to have a proper tires. For example, once again, you know I love examples. If you plan to ride on the dirt terrains, technical dirt terrains, and you have this expensive and maybe not expensive but heavy adventure motorcycle more than 200 kilograms, I will advise to go and buy a proper dirt bike tires, a proper tires for off-road, because the heavier you are, the more difficult it's going to be to control the motorcycle with a normal street tires, or even with adventure type of tires. Most of these adventure type of tires are nothing more than street tires with a little bit different shape and a little bit bigger buttons, but they don't really work on the dirt roads, especially when you have a heavy motorcycle or when you don't have a proper skills to control it. So the heavier you are, the better tires you will need. The second is to choose a brake pads, chain, and all the essential parts of the bike very carefully. So you don't need to buy a brake pads that will not stop your motorcycle when you need them, or any of the spare parts that you have. So you don't need to save money from a spare parts and buy the cheapest as possible spare parts, just to realize that they don't gonna work on the same way. So when you have this long trip on a far distance, you have to prepare yourself, your motorcycle, spare parts, everything with the best that you can afford at the moment. If all of this fails, the brake pads down situation will nothing compared to the worst possible scenario. So it's important. Safety depends on many factors, but the most important is your head. All the problems start from you, and you're the person that has to react and eventually find the exits from any situation. I hope that you understood what I mean. All the problems start here, and you're the person who need to fix all of the problems that you might have. Of course, you might receive help, but you need to find that help. So everything starts with you. Maybe you caused the problem because you did not service the bike properly, or you did not have the proper spare parts, or you was riding reckless and you don't think that if you ride with this not a proper tires or on hard terrains, you probably will drop the bike. So all the problems usually start with us, and we are the people that need to finish and fix the problems after that. The next point is about motorcycle security. There is two types of security. One is when you are at home. We're not going to discuss it. At home you can do everything. You can put even a tank in front of your door. But when you travel, it's a different story. What I will advise, or what I do all the time, is to have this disc brake. What was the name? Brake disc. Yeah, brake disc. Whatever was the name. I forgot now. Man, my brain is not functioning properly. Disc locker. Yeah, disc locker. So take a disc locker with you and lock your motorcycle every time when you have any doubts. So if you have the chance to sleep in a nice hotel with parking and security, you don't need to do it. Even so, I will recommend you to do it. But if you need to drop your motorcycle somewhere on the road, I'll recommend you use the brake lock and the disc lock, and always try to find the best possible place to park your motorcycle. It's a topic for completely different video, but just to have an idea that you need some kind of security measures to secure your motorcycle. Number 8, plan the route carefully. Make a plan and follow it. Once again, we're going to the plan. A basic idea on how the trip will be executed. You don't need to know everything, every step for it, but a good plan in advance, as I said so many times, will help you to predict the things, eventually to adjust some moments on the fly, or to avoid problems or even minimize problems, whatever. A good plan in advance, it's a must. Don't listen to so-called experts that will tell you that go without any plans in the name of adventure is better. I don't subscribe for this. It's not better. It is a recipe for disaster. And number 9, make a backup plan. Having a backup plan is equal important as the main plan. This will give you a peace of mind, and if something goes wrong, and you don't have to stuck without any idea what to do now. So I gave you many examples in my videos, but when you have your backup plan, it somehow give you this relaxation. You know that in the worst scenario you always got your backup plan, and you don't need to worry about anything, because if something goes wrong, you can take this road or that road. So backup plan is something that it's more from a spiritual point of view, but it helps so much. And number 10, it's a little just different, but this is to double check everything. Yes, go and double check everything, and then I will repeat it again. Everything you do before the trip will help you during the trip. So these are the 10 tips that I plan to tell you guys on this live stream. I hope that you will find them useful. And now if you have any questions, or if you like to add something, please do it so. I'll be more than happy if I can reply it. Thank you once again for your patience. So, Richard, pack 3 days clothing only, where items can be worn more than once and wash it. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You don't need clothes for more than 3 days. I've seen people packed for 7 days trip, 7 sets of clothes. And what about if you need to go on 3 months trip? What are you gonna pack? 90 sets of clothes? So absolutely right. 3 days, it's enough. Then you can wash it everywhere. In the hotel sink, everywhere. You don't need to worry about it. The less you have, the better it's going to be. Yeah, light is right. Absolutely. Yeah, I also washed a lot of stuff in the hotel sinks. You can do it in the rivers as well. I've done this as well in the river. Wash my clothes in the river, like in the early days. But if you have to, you'll do it. Really sorry, my voice is not so. Today I speak more through the nose, but nothing I can do about it. At least it's going very, very easy. No temperature, no fever, nothing. It's just a little annoying here in the throat. That's it. But I hope with the Latvian medicine, everything is going to be all right. Come on, guys. Merino wool for the win, keeps the stink and down a bit. Yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend to each and every one of you to have this merino wool, or any kind of this thermo underwear. Whatever you choose, it's something that is very, very useful. I use it all the time during the cold days, and it helps a lot. Yeah, thank you very much for adding this, Richard. Medicine is something very important, especially if you need a specific pills for some kind of rare condition, pills that you cannot find everywhere, especially if they are with prescriptions. So from the most important pills is the pills for diarrhea. In many places around the world, the question is not will I, the question is when I will. Richard, if you travel with others, be prepared to go your own way if it wasn't working. Yeah, this is a good advice. Always be ready to complete the trip alone, which is mean that you should have your spare parts, your oils, your clothes, everything just for you. So if you don't like each other, you can split. Christoph, GPS chip, spare smartphone for navigation, 2 wires connected to our light, but all check power. Yeah, absolutely, whatever works for you. GPS chip, spare smartphone for navigation. I usually have one smartphone only for navigation, and the second one is my telephone. So I don't use my telephone for the main source of navigation, because if something goes wrong, I'll be left without any telephone. If it stops working, or if I lose it somewhere for any reason, I prefer to stay in my pocket. Alright guys, I'm gonna give you 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna end the stream here. Once again, thank you very much for all of you for coming tonight to have this conversation. Current update on your maps and devices. Nothing worse than spending 6 months planning the road just to find the road has been closed. Yeah. This is good advice. Thank you very much, Big D. Yeah, it's always worth to check everything just before the trip. Once again, before the trip. Or as I said in one of my previous videos, now on my trip to Russia, somewhere I was around Poland when I heard the situation with Evgeny Prigozhin and the attempt to make this military overhaul in Russia. And man, this was tough, because if they were able to do it, doesn't mean that they will close the borders and my trip will be over. So it's very, very nice to have this option to check the route and everything just before you go. Richard, be prepared to eat outside of your comfort zone. You might not find what you are used to. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you travel in Asia, you have to. You don't have any options, especially in the countries like Pakistan, India. They have completely different cuisine, and they are very spicy things, so you have to be ready to eat different things, otherwise you're gonna starve. Christoph, what about wheel bearings? Do you have changed them in your T7? Mine has 58,000 and I think about changing them before the next trip. Christoph, mine is on about 70,000 kilometers, did not change them yet. Definitely going to check them before the next trip. I think that they are fine at the moment, but I will definitely check them and probably change them before the next trip. Yeah. The main reason why wheel bearings go is when you don't have a balance on your wheels. So if you keep your wheels with balance always, the wheel bearings will last more. Another reason is that every time when you wash your motorcycle, don't put your washer pressure very close to the wheel bearings. Otherwise, the water pressure will just wash the grease from the bearings and they will finish very fast. Also, if you ride very often in the rivers, stuff like that, they might finish faster. But as I said, so far, 70,000 kilometers, mine are fine. All right, guys. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I'm really sorry, but I will close it now because I just need to drink something. Yeah, absolutely. Pills usually weight nothing. They're a small package, so definitely need to have something. So thank you very much for coming, guys. We'll continue next week. What will be the topic, I don't know, but thank you very much for coming, to adding all of this information. As I said in the beginning, I'm sure that it will be useful for many people that will watch the stream after that. For everyone who missed it, no worries. It will be online on Tuesday on my third channel, Motorcycle Adventure live streams. All right, guys. See you in the next video.